Hey, what's up, everyone? Let's do a recap of October 20th. A quick lesson on the invalidation of the shorts that I was looking for. I want to turn this into a lesson opportunity for everyone. Every single day, I am trying to include the end of day ceiling and floor calculated with the data warehouse per the OMM tool. You see here, end of day ceiling and then end of day floor is the blue zone. In short, we need to pay attention to how price treats those. And what you see is that price did not want to stay below and then shoot up. Price wanted to stay above and then shot up. Why does that matter? Because that ceiling and floor help us to gauge sentiment for the day. And I hadn't been paying attention to that how I should have to help me to know, even though this short idea is higher, the pre-existing sentiment from market makers, according to this piece of data, was not taken into consideration as I could have. So I want you to start paying attention. Ask yourself, how is price treating this ceiling or floor? All right. We had pretty much a trend day and then end of day drop. Yeah. Almost the last target of the day. But anyway, that definitely was an outlier move. Consider the fact that already on Monday, we are above the weekly IV wall for the week. Lower, higher. And going into tomorrow, the ceiling is near the weekly ceiling. So we are near the weekly median range in this WDG cluster. Density graph for the weekly, a path, a cluster is there. It actually happens to align with the median range for tomorrow on the upside. So what I'm anticipating that's showing me is that we are getting near the high, the median range high of the week. WMR, I just did that for extra emphasis. So right now, this is the higher end of the range for the week. So I'm paying attention to whether or not we are starting to top. So the ceiling and floor are compressed as opposed to other days. What that tells me is that I should not have high hopes for large range tomorrow. So I need to manage my expectations to not have big trades, large extended holding. So take your profit. Paying attention to how price moves up here and treats this, and how if we're finding support on the ceiling. It's not a lot going on because there's not a lot of room to go, but there's simple targets. On the bottom side, there are more targets. Buyers must defend the bottom of the weekly IV zone if they're wanting to keep this pushing up for the week and not have this be a major top that pushes way down. When I turn on the weekly levels, there's very important transitional pieces of data here. They got to defend this area if they want to keep this up. If not, we're going to start driving down to test this weekly PML in that direction. So take your profits. All right. Not expecting massive range, but there's still decent enough room to take advantage of. So that being said, looking for this kind of motion to move down as we start to top. But if we start finding support, significant support, and it's not wanting to sustain below like today, then I'm just going to target higher into the weekly ceiling. 250-point move and then support above. So yeah, very simple. Again, driving up, but there's a lot of confluence here for reversion. So just pay attention to that. Take your profits, take your trims. All right. Take care.